Who said kids' movies need to be all hugs and butterflies? The Brave Little Toaster is a movie that I've always had some level of awareness of, but I never actually saw when I was younger. And I think that's the same for a lot of people around my age, because it had an incredibly limited theatrical release. Almost no one saw it in the theater. It was kind of a fixture at video stores, though, and it got replayed on TV a bit, so I think I'm in the same boat a lot of people were. Somebody mentions it, you go, oh yeah, I remember that was a thing that existed, but I don't think a lot of people ever actually saw it. Well, my wife did see it, and at her urging, I have now seen it, and I'm really glad that I did. This movie is really unique and really daring, especially if you take in consideration when it came out. Actually, this movie did kind of an odd thing. It downgraded my opinion of Toy Story 3. Now, Toy Story 3 is still a great movie, do not get me wrong, but all those sorts of elements of things being darker and edgier that everyone just raved about with Toy Story 3, you will be amazed how much of that was lifted wholesale from The Brave Little Toaster. So it starts with this remote cabin in the woods dealing with these appliances that have basically been left behind. And they're kind of pining away for their owner, who was a young boy last time they saw him. And so much time has passed that they have all started to fear that they are just been left to be abandoned, or worse, possibly even disposed of. So a core team made up of a toaster, a vacuum cleaner, an electric blanket, a lamp, and a radio all get together to set out and try and find their owner. Now, the look of this thing is incredibly kid-friendly. It's light and it's bouncy and it's cheerful without being overly cutesy, but honestly, all of that is just a veneer which covers up this almost omniscient feeling of darkness. It's not dark in any sort of really heavy, traumatic way, but there's this constant undercurrent that's always there. If you did see it as a kid, you probably didn't notice. But in all honesty, this may be the darkest kids movie I have ever seen, and I'm a fan of The Secrets of NIMH. These main characters, they start in sort of a down, sad place, and things just don't get better. I mean, it turns out okay by the end. I don't consider that a spoiler. It's a kid's movie. It's got a happy ending. But even the sort of jaunty going on an adventure song immediately gets undercut when the audience is shown they are not heading toward the city like they think they are. They're going deeper into the woods. And even though some of the characters are able to stay upbeat and keep hopeful, the audience is not ever really given any kind of reassurance of hope. And that doesn't register in a sort of pounding over your head like there's no hope, but it's just this undercurrent because nothing seems to go right. And it's also made expressly clear the possible fates for these things as well. Because we see things like other appliances being torn apart and reassembled as weird sort of Frankenstein knickknacks. There's newer appliances pushing out older ones. We see anthropomorphized cars completely destroyed down to these little cubes. And it's made pretty clear that's it for them. They're gone. And interestingly enough, all of these moments are undercut by musical numbers. Not necessarily light and cheery one, but they sort of use the music to hide just how dark this thing is. And it's just something I found very impressive. And I don't bring up the dark aspect of this as a reason to shield your kids from it. I actually would almost encourage it because of it. Because like I said, it doesn't beat you over the head with darkness. There's no exceptionally disturbing imagery about it, but it's all just under the surface. And if you're an adult, you're gonna pick on it right away. But for a kid seeing it, they probably won't notice, and it will actually, if they ever revisit it as an adult, give just a whole new layer and a whole new meaning to it that they wouldn't have appreciated or probably noticed the first time through. And that to me is part of what makes really great kids films, is that you watch it as a kid and you absorb it one way as a kid, and then you get older and you watch it again and you absorb it differently as an adult, and you take away a different experience that isn't just nostalgia, it's a whole new viewing experience. I think the best children's entertainment does that, and this absolutely does that. If you consider yourself a fan of animation of any age, I would recommend that you seek this film out and that you watch it, especially if you like Toy Story 3, because like I said, that movie cherry-picked a lot of general feel and specific moments out of this film. Now, I'm not saying that as a knock against Toy Story 3. I think they were actually pretty smart to pull these very strong aspects from a film that wasn't particularly well known. But if those were the sort of aspects that really got you interested in Toy Story 3, check this thing out and take a look at it. It really is a pretty unique and one-of-a-kind film, and it deserves to be more widely seen than it is up to this point. So that's about it for me. What was a movie that you watched as a kid that you just sort of watched and absorbed and, oh, that's all nice and fine, and then you watched it again as an adult and you went, oh, wow, my parents were okay with me watching this? For me, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, those were up there. Those were sort of those movies for me. What were they for you? Whatever it was, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Until next time, I will be back as soon as I get my next fix.